Chair will now recognize Ranking Member Baird for an opening statement.
Well, thank you, Chairman Foster and Chairwoman Stevens, for convening this hearing to examine the role of science and technology in disrupting this horrendous trade of human trafficking. It's good to see my colleague, Ranking Member Norman, and I do want to thank all the witnesses for being here today and sharing their expertise. Many of my remarks, Mr. Chairman, going to be very similar to some of those that have already been made, but I think that kind of demonstrates how significant this problem is and how important it is that we utilize all of our experience and the experiences of the witnesses here today to try to counteract this problem. You know, and someone already mentioned there's 25 million people worldwide that are exploited and subjected to forced labor through human trafficking every year. To say human trafficking is a monumental challenge, I think, would be an understatement. It's a challenge that requires a global response. It requires international coordination and engagement between government, industry, nonprofit organizations, and academia. We have such a capability in our world today to move internationally and move these kinds of situations internationally. So I do think it takes the international coordination and engagement. As they've already been mentioned, this is the 20th anniversary of signing of the United Nations Trafficking in Persons Protocol and the enactment of the United States Trafficking Victims Protection Act. And over these 20 years, public awareness of human trafficking has grown substantially. Reporting and detection of trafficking is also up globally. This anniversary is the opportunity to recognize the progress that has been made, but it's also a chance for us to take a look at the future, to examine and accelerate the new tools to prevent, combat, and end human trafficking over the next 20 years. It's amazing to me when we think about the advancements in technology in the last 20 years, these last 2 decades. So being able to utilize that technology, it has been an enhancement for traffickers. It makes it easier for them, but it also may serve as a tremendous tool for us to have counter efforts to prevent this kind of thing from taking place. Today, we see NGOs and governments and industry using technology to protect victims, to stop the traffickers, and prevent trafficking by identifying and dismantling the systems that allow them to operate. We're lucky to have the experts in these fields with us today as our witnesses. I would like to applaud the work of the Trump administration in strengthening the federal responsiveness to human trafficking and encouraging increased collaboration from government, industry, and law enforcement. Lastly, I would be remiss if I did not mention how the COVID-19 pandemic has magnified the need for all stakeholders to work together in this fight. We know persons who have targeted by traffickers tend to be the most vulnerable. Isolation and the closure of critical services caused by the pandemic means the number of vulnerable people susceptible to exploitation by traffickers is rapidly growing. So I look forward to hearing from our witnesses today on how their organizations are utilizing research and technology to stem this tide and strengthen efforts to combat human trafficking. Thank you all for taking your time to be here with us this morning, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Thank you. And if there are any members who wish